Welcome to the Leadership Expose podcast. This podcast is for leaders at diverse levels and organizations around the world who are seeking to scale and transform their leadership, to level up their business, and to create an impact in the lives of people all around them. Business topics, trends, innovation, and the intersection with leadership is the focus, and we enable success. I'm your host, Stephen Paul. In this episode, we meet a CRM business leader and business mentor who has almost 2 decades experience in implementing and improving Salesforce CRM systems and marketing tools, amongst other things. He has worked across diverse industries ranging from retail to telecoms, and he's very passionate about digital marketing. And when he's not involved in major projects, he's often helping London-based not-for-profit organizations to maximize the use of their CRM systems. We're joined by Goolshun Belut, Chief Operating and Technology Officer at Smplicity. And today we'll learn about his journey and trends in the areas of sales and marketing, the technologies that enable this, and so forth. Welcome, Goolshun. How are you doing this afternoon?
Thanks for having me on your platform, Stephen. Pleasure to be here. Doing great. It's amazing times to be in business. So yeah, looking forward to your podcast today.
Wonderful, Goolshun. Where are you based? Tell us where you're based in the UK.
Currently, I'm in the northwest of London, not too far from Wembley Stadium, with a view of Wembley Stadium as well. So that's quite handy if there's any matches around. But I'm born and bred in Mauritius, so I spent a lot of time in the UK. That's where I spend most of my time in the UK. But because I have a team in Mauritius, I tend to travel back and forth to Mauritius every couple of months. I just came back for the 4 month this time in Mauritius and getting reacquainted to the London life for a bit.
It is a beautiful place, Mauritius. I've been to Port Louis, and it's such a beautiful place and so relaxing. I'd love to travel and be there at least 6 months of my 6 months of the year.
But be careful what you wish for, because even though I tend to be there a lot of times, people think that I'm going there for work. But when I say I'm going there for work, people say, yes, going there for work, because it's such a beautiful country, right? Yeah. Most people go there on holidays, but it's very frustrating. You're very close to the beach, but you're still in an air-conditioned room. You can see the beach side, but you can't go there. By the time you finish work, it's already dark. Yeah. So yeah, it kind of backfired on me, to be honest, this man. So, but just the weekends, probably I'll go to the beach side.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. You touched upon your journey here, but Goolshun, we're keen to hear about your personal journey here, your personal and professional journey, and how you've come about to where you are at now. If you could briefly tell us that.
Absolutely. My journey is very, very different from most normal graduates who started their career. I grew up in Mauritius, so my first couple of jobs were in Mauritius. I started in sales, really, in Mauritius. Even though I had a bit of a technical background, I liked to study computing, computer sciences. I was playing around with a lot of technology back in those days. Did a lot of programming using Pascal, COBOL. Those are dead languages these days. But even though I'm quite young, but in Mauritius, this is the only technology you get exposed to, because really, back in those days, we're still quite backwards in technology. Was filling around in many of those technologies, but also involved into entertainment business. So I was at a radio station for a bit in Mauritius. I had my own radio show, J-Pod DJ in Mauritius. Did a lot of kind of ventured into TV as well, and then did kind of live shows and entertainment for many events. So that's how I started, even though I'm a technical guy. For some reason, going to sales, have some technical ability, but my real passion was entertainment business. So all the creative bit. I was in advertising as well for some time. But as you probably all know, it doesn't sustain you, right? My parents said to us, you need to get yourself a job. You have to be more serious. So I decided to come to London for studies. and studied computing and multimedia computing, which is a bit of creativity as well as computing parts to it. Randomly had a CRM module in that in my last year of uni. Didn't realize that what that will have been the turning point, or was the turning point of my life. We went to interview Coughlin Warehouse in those days just to see how they use CRM system. Did the whole project around it. Still without realizing the impact of the CRM, so we just went there as a project. Left uni. I had a temp job in a company called TruePhone. And my main job was actually it was a temp job. So it was placing SIM cards in phones and shipping it out. It was quite boring to do that type of job. So I was a bit vocal about my frustration, and then got called into the director's office. And at that time I thought I was going to get fired, but he ended up telling me about CRM, that they have something called Salesforce. If you in IT, bring your CV tomorrow, we'll have a look. And my CV says CRM in there because I did a CRM project at uni, and that was quite attractive. He asked me to learn the CRM. If you can learn the CRM within a couple of weeks, I'll give you a job, a proper job. And those days, Salesforce was still kind of maturing, so they didn't have the right courses. It was just all online help files to train yourself on. And again, grateful for Google. There's so much available material. Read all the help articles, the help files, wherever I can get my hands on, and told the directors, I can maintain your Salesforce, just give me a job. And the second week, I deleted the whole database. The whole production got vanished. So people were sitting freaking out on the floor. But I've ended up, again, I didn't know because it was such an enterprise level tool, and it was my first proper job in IT. I didn't realize there was an undo button in the recycle bin somewhere. So after many hours of freaking out, I managed to kind of restore the database. So you learn by your mistakes very quickly, and that was my career. So since then, I started as a Salesforce administrator. Did a lot of sales operations job. Moved into business analysis when I started working at Groupon. It was one of the fastest growing company at the time. We started to do a lot of process redesigning, optimizing the call center. Decided that I think I've learned enough in terms of the technical things I needed to do more, because Groupon in those days was still a startup, so I couldn't learn as much. It was me doing all the learning by myself. So I ended up with leading a project at a company called Active Trades, was trading platform. Even though it has a very small team in Active Trades, we did some amazing projects connecting trading platform to Salesforce, and optimizing the business processes through the whole business, as well as the marketing automation side. Got bored again. So again, I mean, I'm quite an ambitious person, so I need to do something new. So I went into consulting. So Accenture headhunted me and got me a job in consulting this time, and had no idea how consulting works, because I've never done that before. I was always on the end user side, which means on the client side. Again, Accenture was hiring a lot of people, and I was the experienced one, so got in because of the knowledge of Salesforce. Day number one, you fly around to Paris to deliver a piece of work you have no idea what to do about. So again, learning fast, learning by mistake, but then survived probably close to 5 years there before I started Smplicity, which and you mentioned earlier about my interest in charities. And one of my last year at Accenture, I decided to take a sabbatical for 7 months to do charity work. Really enjoyed it, but also realized all the money that I had, all the savings all gone, because it was 7 months of non-paid sabbatical. I ran out of money myself, so I had to go back to Accenture to get the job. But in the end, I decided to pull out and say, do you know what, I think I'll make that a career. So because the charity themselves decided to pay me, even though I was doing a lot of free work for them. They said, no, Goolshun, I don't want you to be homeless. So we'll pay you. Just set up an entity. We'll pay you through it, which became Smplicity. And to your question earlier, when we started the conversation earlier, why there's no I in Smplicity, there's no magic behind it. It's just I needed an entity. Smplicity was not available with the SIM. So I said, you know what? I didn't realize it was going to be a business. I thought it was just going to be one client. So we got the easiest domain name we could get our hands on, which was Smplicity .co. And then I said 5 years later, I'm still doing the exact same thing, but not only with charities now. I do back on the enterprise side. I work with our startups, financial institutions, banks, where I help them optimize what we call the lead to cash process in their business, help them cross-sell and upsell more using Salesforce technologies. So yeah, this is hopefully very small snapshot. I mean, we can go hours about it in the very single details of my life, but this is where we are today.
Yeah, Goolshun, that is amazing. Your journey and how you've described. I mean, even coming to the UK, but also, there's some things that we share in common. For Accenture, for example, I've worked in Accenture, and I know how they operate as well as a consulting firm. And but clearly, there's been some learnings there too. But I'm also quite amazed as to how you diversify to charities, but also how you transformed into becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own business. So I'm keen to hear a little bit more about the work that you do with the types of companies you mentioned about startups, mid-size, and so forth. How with the solutions that you offer as a product or solution or CRM enabled solutions, do you go there with a systems mind or technology mind, or do you actually go and understand where the problems are with that company and then kind of uplift their marketing function or their entire value chain? Just enlighten us, please.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to. I'm a very technical guy, so that's core. I mean, as my real trade is solution architecture, where I design large scale solutions for very large clients. But I mean, this is something I've learned through the career, and also it's solidified more when I was working at Accenture. Is always asking you the why. Why are you doing this? So we are a Salesforce partner. We've been the Salesforce partner for 5 years. So we only specialize in one product, which is Salesforce, because we know the ins and outs of Salesforce. A lot of demand in there. We understand the features of Salesforce. We understand the limitations, the capability, and what's coming up in Salesforce. We've done that. I'm personally done that for the last 13 years. So we understand the technology. But when it comes to clients, and most people will approach, I mean, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of companies in the Salesforce ecosystem will approach, okay, tell me what you need, and then we'll build it for you. But that's the wrong question. Tell me why you need this. Should be the first question. A lot of people just think, okay, building this part will solve your problem, but no, you're probably treating the symptoms, you're not treating the causes. So we want to understand the causes. And the whole team that we've built around ourselves is, even though they're technical people, but they've been trained to ask the why. Because sometimes it's not the technology which is the problem. Sometimes the business process is the problem, or the people themselves are the problem. So we need to figure out why they're asking for this. And as you probably know, this whole framework about the asking the 5 whys, you'll get to somewhere. So everyone's trained that, just ask again and again and again until you can reach a point where you really understand why they're actually doing this. So we have a very problem-solving mindset. Everyone here, we like to solve problems. So once we ask the why, a lot of the time you realize, okay, it's not the technology. I mean, maybe you get distracted or excited about certain features in Salesforce or in what's happening in technology in the world, but you forget the why. So we bring the clients thinking a bit higher, a bigger picture of why you want to do this. We understand where the problems are business-wise, right? We normally would do, first of all, we do a discovery with clients where we understand the business problems, understand the metrics a little bit. What are they measuring, and what's the key blockers there, right? Because it might not be the blocker they're telling us might not be the real blocker. So we ask again. We normally do a lot of business process-based lining. from the top to understand how the business is working now and where they want to be, right? Without even talking about technology. We haven't even talked about technologies so far. Once we have that, then we understand, okay, this is where they're trying to get to. Now we can get our team in to say, okay, what are the features we can potentially leverage in this technology to optimize the process? And again, what we are specializing is lead to cash. So picking a company, picking a visit on your website, how do you convert that visit to your website into an inquiry, and how you take that inquiry to your sales process? You could have many inquiries, right? How do you optimize those inquiries so you know who to target at what point in time? And then again, then we'll leverage Salesforce technologies, the AI, the behavior tracking to be able to accelerate that. Once we goes into your pipeline, how do you sell faster to those customers? And we use technology like CPQ, which is configure, price, and quote, to allow sales executives, sales managers to create contracts or quotes very, very quickly, especially for high volume customers. They need that quick efficiency. So we help them on that. And once you get a sale, again, this job is not done. It's easier to retain your customer than getting new customers. So you create a whole experience around that customer using other features of Salesforce Community or Experience Cloud, where you control the experience where customers can come online, request for new products, request for new service. You control the experience there, and it gives you all this insight from the customer where you can upsell and cross-sell to them. And then the last bit is servicing the customer. So great, you've sold. How do you service those customers? You need a big contact center. Some people have contact centers or service centers. They have inquiries. Now you can have a bulk of inquiries coming in, and there's so much inquiries every day. How do you optimize where your people need to spend their time on? Especially during like e-commerce platform, especially during Christmas time, it gets busy. How do you prioritize? And how do you use automation and machine learning and or AI or sentiment analysis, for example, on calls, where you can actually sense the tone of the person who's speaking with you, whether they're angry or not angry, and then divert the call to the right person, just using that those analytics. And then so you can tackle bigger issues faster. And the one that can be all the basic ones, you can provide self-service as an example. So, I mean, all these things we do. So I've only talked about the business side, but we understand the business side, and then we'll look at the technology in Salesforce, what features we can enable. And sometimes we just need to prioritize cost versus feature, or whether customization versus configuration. Do we build? Do we stretch it? Again, you're purchasing a platform because you have the speed of delivery rather than having to configure everything from scratch. And that's what customers buy for. But a lot of people would tend to buy the software and then stretch it, customize it completely, that it isn't, the product is not relevant anymore. Yeah. So we bring that customer back to that focus of why you purchased that product, which is Salesforce.
Yeah, and Goolshun, that's very interesting. So your conversations with businesses, you mentioned you start with the why and you ask those questions. Do you make that self-investment initially with the business to enable that discovery, or do you actually get into that arrangement with a business to conduct that discovery, whether it's for a week or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it is, timeline that you might have, to understand the business problems before actually delving into what might be a proper solution for them? Do you make that investment yourself, or do you actually come to an arrangement with the company at the onset?
It varies on the client size and the project impact as well. Some projects are very complex that we need to put a lot more effort in, but we always believe in bringing value for us. I mean, it sounds like I sound like a broken record, because people always say, yeah, deliver value, but what does it mean, deliver value? Between the customer and the supplier, so which is Smplicity, and the client there, they're buying something that you can't see, and they're only buying a future benefit. Now, I understand that it's a psychological thing, right? They don't know what they're buying. So you need to find a way to lower the barrier for them to make a decision whether it's you or not. So a lot of time we will do probably sometimes a couple of days or sometimes going to do up to 2 weeks of discovery, where we offer that as from our own investment to understand the ballpark of the project, the complexities of the project, so we can have some idea of how much it might cost in terms of time or money. And then we can tell them right at the spot whether this is a project, whether how big the resourcing would have to be. So at least it gives them a bit of idea how to plan forward. And for us as well, we are a small business, so it kind of gives us a bit of insight whether we want to take this project ourselves. Because some projects, people like to take all projects, but then they fail at delivering those projects. So we like to maintain our success rate. And if we can't deliver the project, we'll have to tell the customer we can't, or we'll find ways to deliver the project with other people who can merge their effort with us to deliver this. But all depends on the complexity. This is the most common scenarios. But it does happen where this can go into an extended discovery where the client will invest as well. Or we go on the spot, this is a tough project, but we need both time. We can give you a discount for the first discovery. So this is how we proceed. So at least it's a win-win situation from both customer and us. Yeah. Again, this is how we provide value. So we by earning their trust, and then they're giving us their time. And then hopefully if we deliver the good work, we get the next piece of work. So we don't need to sell, we just need to solve the problem.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, just how you summarize. You want to solve the problems, and it depends on the nature of the business, on the type of issues that they have, what challenges that they have, what the vision is, and so forth. And that's a very good mindset to have when you're actually approaching business, as opposed to just shoving down a product or a technology. You start
Absolutely
with some initial basics. Yeah. All right. So you've been an entrepreneur, you've worked in companies, delivering projects, but also an entrepreneur now with Smplicity. What is an experience or a story that you can share that comes to mind from your time working in companies, larger companies, or maybe even as a leader within Smplicity, where you've achieved a highly positive outcome from a leadership perspective?
Well, very good question. I mean, there's many where I failed. We can spend days talking about the failures, but the failures led to my success and led to building the leader I am today. I mean, we've been running this company for close to 6 years now. We had a major problem, leadership problem, some time ago, just towards the end of last year, slightly before last year actually, where I was not confident about myself, whether I can take this business forward. I'm very young still, had many failures. I've got so much to learn. And I felt I didn't have all the skills required to run the business. So I decided to change the path and said, okay, I'll take a different role so someone else can run the business. But again, I think those one of the key mistakes I've done is, if you're the entrepreneur, you know your business, you build this from scratch, you understand what it takes to run this. You understand your people, you understand yourself. And again, for me, I've kind of lost that confidence. I mean, this whole thing about having this imposter syndrome, for me, I was fighting that every day, whether I have what it takes. And I'm this little guy from Mauritius. I mean, give me something, I'll fish, I'll swim, I can catch stuff, I can catch coconut if you want, but this is leading a business where people their life depends on me. So I had went through a lot of mental health issues and depression and whatnot, because it was time where I was nearly losing the business. It was not doing very well. But I'm so grateful the team, even though they saw the ship nearly sinking, no one left. Every single person basically stood by my side. They knew what was happening in some shape or form. They said, Goolshun, don't worry, we have your back. Don't worry, wherever it takes, until the company closes down, we're still going to be around. And that gave me a lot of confidence that I might not be a great businessman. I'm still young, have a lot to learn. But what I was really proud of that time, at that moment, was, wow, I built a great culture of support network around me. And even though in desperate times where people might flee, we stuck together. We said, you know what, let's do something. Let me help you out. And it's always good to say, you know what, even though you're a leader, you're also vulnerable. And sometimes a lot of people think they have to hide that. For me, I've decided to let it go, share that with the people. And by doing that, I've just got more support. I could have not shared anything, and maybe I would have dragged everyone down. I was open about it, and people were there. They were there with me, and they're still there with me today. Again, I'm grateful about the culture we built. I think that's one key achievement I can say to myself, whatever happens in the future, I've built a great company culture. And a lot of people struggle to do that because they only focus either on money or focus on growth. I've focused 100%. Treat people as you want to be treated. And this is what we built. And today I don't have problems because, I'm not saying I don't have problems. I have all problems I have to solve every day, but those big issues is gone. I have the support of my team. I've always believed that once you become a leader, your people don't work for you anymore. You work for them. So you need to give them what they need for them to be successful. And that's a lot of sacrifice. You understand the why you want to be a leader. And then last year, I've understood why I wanted to be one, because I was passionate about people and I want people to succeed. I've got that thing in me that, you have to be better than me. You have to become better than me. And by doing that, I've created that culture of people trying to help other people to make themselves better, to kind of uplift them. And yeah, and this is the proudest moment I could say. And still up to today, I had calls this morning and people tell me the truth about certain things. Happy that they tell me that the issues as well. We don't blame them. We learn from their failures. But it's an open platform where people don't feel scared or fearful of telling that they've made a mistake.
Yeah, and that's the essence of transformational leadership, and recognizing and becoming self-aware, as you just described, and demonstrating that vulnerability has made you connect with your team. So let me ask you, Goolshun, have you grown your team? Have they grown with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've grown the team in size, first of all, because I don't do the hiring as much now. The team does that. They understand the captain's intent. But we also have what we call the kind of battleground promotions, where during the tough times, those people stepped up and we give them the promotion on that time because they stepped up. So they personally grew because they were given the opportunity to grow. And today, if I didn't do that, I would have not been in the position where now I'm planning to grow more.
Yeah.
So now we went from probably close to negative to a very, very positive cash flow over the last literally 2 to 3 quarters. And now we're going crazy on recruitment. We want to grow. We have all the confidence. We have the best team. Now it's about how do we replicate ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful, Goolshun. And what are the important topics or trends these days on your mind that you feel impact business or your teams, your company, leaders? You are obviously in a growth stage as well within Smplicity. So as a business, what are some of those trends and topics that you feel are important, and what's on your mind to actually address some of that?
Personally, if I may talk about the kind of business/personal one is people. How do we create better people? Not better consultants, better IT guys and IT girls. How do we create better people? I think that's my key challenge. Because once I've solved that problem, how to create better people with the right attitude, then we can train for the skill sets. I think that's what I'm working on. I'm working on various ways how to create those people, which is why I'm in Mauritius. I've been in Mauritius for the last couple of months, is to build those foundational kind of an academy type of branch. I'm trying to build an academy to train those people in the way that I think and my team thinks. Difficult to do, but we're trying to make it happen. So, but also one thing is to think about is whatever you do, you always have to do it for a bigger purpose. And that's why we also give a lot to charities. We give close to 20% of time or money to charity. Doesn't matter how good we're doing. We give that away. We've just been delivering a lot of charity projects recently where we give them a lot. I mean, those are enterprise level projects, which sometimes we give away for free. And we need to have that purpose. So we need to have people with purpose to work with us. I think that's one of the key things. But then on the technology side, there's so many things happening. We want to go explore more AI in the business landscape. And we talked about earlier this sentiment analysis. But we want to use AI how to in the business to be able to upsell, cross-sell even faster. I mean, Salesforce, for example, already houses pre-built features, and also the analytics side of Salesforce, which is called now Salesforce Einstein. It uses AI plus analytics, what we have to provide more insight about the business, forward thinking, and slicing and dicing data that they haven't thought of themselves. Because there's so much data. I have one client, they already exceed their data every quarter because there's so much data they're consuming. No one is analyzing those data. I think that's my next challenge is how do we consume and analyze this data in context with the business? Because there's so much data, but how do you make sense of them so we can move forward? But then we're exploring various features of Salesforce themselves to do it. But we want to explore the world. We want to create more applications. That's what we're trying to do at Smplicity. More Salesforce apps to solve small business problem. Because I believe that's where you can buy a big solution, but we believe in small solution solving one problem at a time, and overall becomes that big solution that solves all your problems, hopefully. And that's where we are now.
Yeah, people and technology. Very good. Wonderful. Okay, so Goolshun, tell us, what does a day in the life of Goolshun look like?
Thing is, I'm the laziest hard worker in the world. I don't like to work. I'm a dyslexic person. I'm the guy with ideas. I like to kind of always figure out ideas, draw stuff. But being a business person and being a leader, you have to get more disciplined. So yeah, my day starts around about 8-ish, where again I'll just have a coffee, check my emails, have a chat with my personal assistant to see what's in the calendar for today, what P1's activities I need to work on. I spend a lot of time with my operational team, my managers, to see what are the key issues. But then the rest of the time is strategizing. So now I'm in a plan mode where I've already planned the quarter. I need to plan the next 12 months. And I've always had this in mind when I was listening to Jeff Bezos talking about how he manages his business. I mean, I can't compare myself to this person, but he's saying, well, this year is already planned. He's planning for the next 5 years, not this year. It's like, then when in the next 5 years, he's planning for the next 10 years. And that's what I'm trying to do now. But yeah, it's crazy sometimes. You start at 8, you finish 10, 11 at night in a lot of times. But I spend a lot of time talking to my clients as well. So always having chat with clients. Okay, what you're planning to do, rather than they have to tell me what these are what I want to do. I'm already planning forward what I should tell them to do, and that's what I do pretty much every day.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. And anything for fun that you do aside from talking to clients and bringing life to them as well? Anything interesting that you do for yourself?
again, I got more from some guy who used to be doing DJing. I have a very boring life now.
Yeah.
I read a lot. I enjoy reading. I enjoy learning about things, and I enjoy the business. I enjoy business itself, right? So I do.
That's your passion, yeah. On the
Yes.
people side of things, yeah.
And I keep reading. I mean, that again, I don't really have a hobby, to be honest. I mean, people ask me, what do I like to do? I said, this is what I like to do. I get excited by it every day. But I don't know. People have been asking me to start playing golf or pick a hobby. Again, it's a question mark at the moment. This is another problem I need to figure out for the next couple of months.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Okay, we are coming to a close very shortly, and Goolshun, let me ask you this: share with us any closing message or a challenge to other leaders or teams or people like yourselves who are building businesses, who've got businesses, on any of those topics that you mentioned, whether it's leadership, any lessons that you want to share, any closing messages or challenges that you want to put forward.
Yeah, there's plenty, but one key thing I've always wanted to share is let yourself be vulnerable. Don't hold back, because when I was going through this stage or phase myself, I was researching how other people were doing it, but everyone was saying, well, hold back, you have to show a brave face. I'll say, be human. You're human at the end of the day. People look up to you if you're human. You're not Superman. That doesn't exist in the world. You're just someone who's just got a lot more responsibilities. So be open to your team members. Be more transparent with your team members. And believe in them, right? And allow them to fail, even though you know they might fail. Just control the level of failure. But by not allowing them to fail and always tell them what to do and not to fail, you're not providing them enough platform to thrive on. You can tell them what to do all the time, but unless they experience that from themselves, they will not be able to do the best job. They have to learn by failure. They have to learn by mistake. We celebrate mistakes every week when we have our operation meeting. We celebrate what failures we did, how we learn from it. So yeah, I think everything I do is people. So I've got a big focus on people. And the next bit is whatever you do, I mean, always give back. To be honest, I mean, for me, business-wise, it actually worked better because the more I gave back, the more business I've received from it for some reason, because I get referred in quite a lot. But yeah, focus on your people. Your people will give the best to your customers.
Very good advice and challenge as well. Thank you very much, Goolshun, for being with us today and sharing with us your story. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Stephen. Really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Okay, folks, thank you very much for listening in, and stay tuned for our next episode with another great leader who will be sharing his entrepreneurial journey that has sparked ambition amongst wannabe entrepreneurs in the Baltics. Watch out for that very shortly. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.